Hello and welcome to my Astronomy Nights. I'm Derek, and in this video I'm looking at NGC 7331. Now NGC 7331 is a wonderful unbarred spiral galaxy in the constellation of Pegasus. So we have that square Pegasus working its way towards the meridian again, and it opens up the sky to all those wonderful autumn galaxies. So you have the Andromeda galaxy, Triangulum galaxy and M74 in Pisces all working their way around from the east. But I think as a starter to that second galaxy season, NGC 7331 is a fantastic galaxy to whet your appetite for faint fuzzies as the nights are growing darker. It's tucked right up there near the Lacerta border, so it's in a real prime position now for observing over the next month or two. Locating NGC 7331 is a little tricky, but you can begin with the square of Pegasus. So that's that large quadrangle made up of the stars of Pegasus, but it includes Alpheratz from Andromeda. So we're looking for the northwestern member, which is Skeet or Beta Pegasi, and then we want to move over towards the northwest to find Eta Pegasi, which is Matar. So that's the star we need to use within Pegasus, and we're going to line that up with 6 Lacerta. That's about 13 degrees to the north, and then we want to move 5 degrees in that direction, and you'll come across a nice little pair of gold-white stars around 6 magnitude, and they sit just a degree above NGC 7331 and the Deerlick Group. So if you center those stars in your finder and then work your way south, you'll be able to spot that little streak of NGC 7331 in your finder scope if it's above 50 millimeters. Now NGC 7331 is a wonderful example of a spiral galaxy in that oblique orientation towards our vantage point. It has a tilt of 75 degrees, giving it that classic elongated oval shape with a bright off-center core. Now its overall size is nearly 11 by 4 arc minutes, and it has a brightness of magnitude 9.5, making it a really good target for mid-sized telescopes. This one was discovered by William Herschel in 1784, and it lies at about 40 million light years from us. When you're observing it, it kind of sits on its end, and it has a nice prominent dust lane on the western side, which is the nearer side of the galaxy to us, and then the more diffuse edge is the further side away, so you can kind of picture the orientation of that 75 degree tilt as well when you're observing it. Now NGC 7331 has a really interesting group of galaxies nearby. They're nicknamed the Fleas, and they're an unassociated group that are sitting at about 300 million light years away. They're made up, there's 2 brightish members, there's 7340 and 7335, and then they also have NGC 7337, which is a face-on spiral galaxy, but it's really faint, it's over 15 magnitude. And then there's another galaxy then, NGC 7336, and this one is another 100 million light years more distant. So it makes for a really interesting field of view when you're observing these targets, or at least when you're getting them in an image. So it's known as the Deerlick Group. This is something I'd always wondered about, but it actually turns out that it comes from an observation session of the galaxies made by Tom Lorenzen in 1983 on a night of great seeing, and this is from the Deerlick Gap Overlook, which is a really popular observation site in North Carolina. Now I found this in an article from Roger Ivester, so I'll link it in the description down below so you can have a read of it yourself. So another really interesting thing about NGC 7331 is the fact that there was a supernova that went off very recently, only on the 14th of July this year, and it's known as SN 2025, and this is a lovely little supernova near the core of the galaxy. So unfortunately I wasn't able to get out and observe it early enough to actually make a visual observation of it, but once I was able to get my photograph of it, I could see the supernova sitting there just beside, and I made a direct comparison with an older photo I had of 7331, and you're able to blink between the two and see the supernova there, which is just a fascinating aspect of amateur astronomy, that you can capture these changes to things like a galaxy 40 million light years away or 40 million years in the past. Now to get the data for the photos on NGC 7331, I used my monochrome camera with the 163 mono from QHY, and I was using the 200 PDS and my NEQ6 from Skywatcher. And this was taken, it was just on one single night, and I just ran luminance on it because I've been really clouded out, and the weather has been really bad this summer. So to get an early photo of it, I wanted to get that supernova before it was getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. So I managed to get out in between the clouds anyways and capture a couple of hours of luminance. And then originally I had a photo taken a couple of years back with my GH5 on my 200 PDS with the same mount, and that was a colour photo taken for a couple of hours on a nice night in, I think it was September or October in 2022. But I was able to use the colour from that image then to add it into my new monochrome one to get that final image that you see now. It was great to have the two images because I was able to do that direct comparison between the supernova that's just gone off in July. So observing NGC 7331 is a really nice, it's a really nice target to observe. It has this really lovely tilt at 75 degrees, but a quite obvious tilt with the dust lane on the leading edge, so it gives a kind of a sharp edge on the western side and more of a diffuse edge on the eastern side, which is towards those tiny little galaxies. Now the little galaxies of the Deerlick Group, I've observed this 7331 multiple times, and they've been out of my range on nearly every night that I've observed. I got hints of NGC 7340, but that's mostly because it makes a nice little line with three galaxies down along. So I think my seeing has just been off on most of the nights that I've had it in my old location with a little bit of light pollution, and now in my new location I think the seeing just wasn't good enough, so I have to wait for a night of really clear seeing from here to see if I can confirm that I can't reach all of those galaxies. So for observing NGC 7331 I primarily used my 12-inch Dobsonian. I was using my wider field eyepieces on this, so my 32 and my 24mm. They've got wide fields of view as well, above 72 degrees, and it's a really nice target in a field of view like that because it's quite small, but you have those little targets around it to try to look for. It does take magnification quite well though. I put my 60mm on this and I was really able to get a good view of that dark dust lane on the leading edge. Now the fainter galaxies that are nearby, these are next to impossible with the 12-inch, especially in my last location with that slight bit of light pollution. But in my new location now, I just haven't had that good sky to get a good view of them. I've just had an averted view, like a really slight averted view of NGC 3740. But that's solely because it sits on a line with 2 stars. It makes like a little 3-star line, but you know that that's the third one. So that's kind of the most way you could pick that one out. And to get that triangle of the 3 was very tricky. I know they're just within the grasp of my telescope, but I'm just going to have to keep trying at them. And hopefully I'll get a really transparent night to get a good view of those. Now my experience with NGC 7331 has been really mixed over the years. I used to find this really difficult to locate and observe, but the more I've gotten used to it, the more I can kind of tease out that detail in the dust lane and look for that kind of oblique nature and the way it has that kind of edge, that's the leading edge that's facing us. Now the fleas are still very difficult targets, but if you have large aperture, do let me know how you got on in the comments below. Now it's kind of become part of my annual observing, akin to the way NGC 2903 and Leo kind of begins spring galaxy season. This one has the same effect in autumn. Do let me know how you get on with your photographs, or if you're able to make any visual observations of those tiny little galaxies nearby in the Deerlick Group. Until next time, clear skies!